This lesson will cover the basics of the software. The subjects we'll be covering are first the layout of the Silhouette Studio software, file handling tasks such as how to open, save, and close projects, how to move around your project design using the zoom tools, the drawing area and the drawing area options to help when working with your project design. If you have not already done so, open the Silhouette Studio software now. If you are using Windows, this is done by clicking on Start, All Programs, then the Silhouette Studio folder, and then click on the Silhouette Studio icon. Keep in mind that as we go through these lessons, we want to make sure you understand the different expressions that we will use. They're probably familiar to you, but just in case, let's go over a few. When we use an expression where the Control key is mentioned along with a letter key, such as Control A, this is where we will hold the Control key on the computer keyboard and then press the letter, in this case, the A key. Images refer to any objects, such as shapes and photos in the workspace, although at times we will use these terms interchangeably. A closed shape refers to a shape where the outline does not have a break in it, so there are no endpoints. Squares and circles are examples of closed shapes, similar to what you see on the left-hand side of the window. An open shape refers to when the shape's outline is broken, where there are endpoints, such as these objects on the right-hand side of the window. Next, we will get familiar with the layout of the application. Up at the top are the pull-down menus with all the different functions for Silhouette Studio. Pull-down menu options are generally grouped by functions. For instance, functions such as undo, redo, cut and paste are used when editing a design. Thus, these functions are grouped under the Edit pull-down menu. All the options for viewing are grouped under the View pull-down menu, and so on. To save time, notice that on the right-hand side of the pull-down menu that some menu tasks and functions will have what are called shortcut keys assigned to them. These are here to help you get to these common functions quickly. For instance, if you are new to the software, you will probably end up undoing your steps. This is generally done by clicking the Edit pull-down menu and then selecting Undo. But you'll notice, though, that there is a shortcut key assigned to the undo task, which is Ctrl-Z. So to quickly undo a step, just press Ctrl-Z. It's as simple as that. You'll notice all the buttons along the top and side of the window. Details as to each button's specific function are discussed in other lessons. However, you'll note that all the buttons are grouped in sections. As with the pull-down menus, each section group of buttons are generally related in function. Let's start by getting familiar with these by giving a brief overview of each section. The General Document Management section up here is where you'll find buttons for opening, saving, and sending project designs to your printer or your Silhouette digital cutting unit. The Standard Editing Tools section is for basic copy, paste, cut, and undo-redo actions commonly found in many programs. The Zooming Tools section is for basic zoom-in or zoom-out functions to view parts of the document, either from a closer perspective or at a more distant range. The Silhouette Studio Tools section provides a range of tools for filling images, altering lines, adjusting text attributes, adjusting the location, angle, and size of images, and adjusting page attributes. The Drawing Tools section along the side of the window provides tools used for selecting and drawing images, as well as the ability to create text directly in your workspace area. Below that is the Library and Online Store section. The Library button accesses your image library, whereas the Silhouette Online Store gives you access to our online store where you can obtain more images. Down toward the bottom of the window is the Image Manipulation Tools section. This section provides tools such as grouping, selecting images, duplicating, and deleting images. It also has the Weld and Offset tools. All of these buttons give you quick access to tools that are found in the pull-down menus. The workspace, which is this large area in the middle, is where you draw or place images. There are three different parts to the workspace: the gray holding area, the white workspace, and the red line border within the white workspace. When images or shapes are placed in the white space, this indicates that they are active and can be sent to your printer, but not necessarily to your Silhouette digital cutter. The red border represents the active cutting area. In other words, only images within this area can be sent to your Silhouette digital cutter. Any images outside this area will not be cut. Objects in the gray holding area are inactive or not in use. They become invisible, so to speak, when you print or cut your design. To illustrate how the workspace is laid out, you might think of it as working on a desktop. The white area with the red border is like the area where you work on your project, moving and maneuvering shapes, images, and photographs. The surrounding gray area is like the outside of the work area where shapes, images, and photographs not currently being used are placed temporarily until they are needed. So the items that you're not using at the moment can be dragged off your work area and set aside on the gray holding area. Then, as you need images, they can be dragged toward the center of the work area and then used in your project. The orientation of the page can also be switched to suit our needs. It may be viewed in landscape mode or portrait mode. Landscape is a default orientation whenever a new document is opened, as you see here. When a document is in landscape orientation, images will be sent to the Silhouette with the upper left-hand corner of the window coinciding with the upper right-hand side of your material. To get a better handle on this, let's show the carrier sheet or cutting mat. This is done through the Preference menu. So we click on the File pull-down menu, click Preferences, and go to Defaults. In the middle of this screen, we're given the choice to show the carrier sheet all the time. That's what we want, so we will click on that option. And then click OK. You will notice that the carrier sheet is revealed below the white drawing area. You will recognize that this is the carrier sheet or cutting mat that came with your Silhouette digital cutter. The usefulness of the carrier sheet pattern on your workspace will become apparent once we start cutting designs. If we were to open the Page Tools here, it will open the side panel. At the bottom of the side panel, there's a slider bar for revealing more or less of the carrier sheet, making the white design area more transparent. Now, we can kind of see how everything is laid out. This big arrow is the direction that the media will be fed into the Silhouette digital cutter. In the page side panel, if we change the orientation to Portrait, we can see how the arrow is now on top. This indicates, once again, the direction the material is fed into your cutting unit, as well as the position of the media to be placed on the carrier sheet, if the carrier sheet is being used. While the page side panel is open, there are other options that we can adjust. If we need to change the page size, we can do this by choosing the selection shown here, or set a custom size by entering values in these two boxes. This comes in handy when we have a smaller piece of material than we would like to use up. Typically for the Silhouette digital cutter, with anything smaller than an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet, the carrier sheet will have to be used. Therefore, this will help us get a visual, so to speak, of the area where we can create or use images and designs. For instance, let's say we have a scrap of media that is 4 by 6 inches. We can enter 6 for the width, and then enter 4 for the height. Let's zoom out a little. As you can see, we not only have what looks like a 4 by 6 inch sheet of paper to work in, but we're also shown where we should position it on the carrier sheet prior to cutting. You will use this side panel on the right frequently. This is because the side panel will display all of the parameters, values, or settings for different shapes, tools, or functions. This means that it continually changes depending on the current operation. As we go along, it will become apparent as to the usefulness of this panel, but to briefly demonstrate, if we click on the Text tool, the side panel immediately displays all the settings for creating text, such as the font, font style, text size, and so forth. As other tools and functions are chosen, other settings specifically for that function will be displayed.